Hey guys, Kabara here with an update on my hybrid live performance setup. So far I used a combination of mostly two MIDI controllers, the APC Mini to trigger clips and scenes in Ableton Live, and a modded MIDI mix. Basically I just replaced the knobs, so they are higher quality than the one that comes out of the box. So each of these was a channel, and each of these knobs then was sending send effects levels to up to 3 send effects. Let's say this one was delay, and then it's the same for all the channels. This one just increases the send level to the delay. And I felt a little bit limited by it, because so far I only did live performances with individual tracks or songs, and I started working on a setup that I can, let's say, play an hour with. I really struggled to put my mind into this 8-track type of logic, which I could have done, and in the end that's actually also what I did. My problem was, though, you know, the clip launchers like this, Ableton gives you like a box, and then you can move from left to right, up and down, and the channels are changing. So if I go 2 to the left, this is then channel 3 and not channel 1. But since I used the custom mapping on this, if I move to the side with the clips, this is still channel 1 and channel 2 and channel 3. And I have no experience with writing scripts for Ableton, so I basically gave up. The other thing I wanted to change is I wanted to include more of my analog and hardware devices. And so I did some iteration in my mind about how a setup like this could look like. Pretty quickly I thought, okay, I need some hardware mixer to put everything together. You can see me setting up the Behringer mixer in the background. And I also tried to have like a little map just to dump out all of my ideas in my mind, how I can connect and route the different channels so I don't get completely confused. And this is what I tried here to connect in the background. So the first iteration, what I tried to do, I thought, okay, maybe the last 2 channels, which are stereo channels, can be similar to it in a DJ mix, deck A and deck B. So you can see me here moving up one deck, the left one, and then the other deck. And in Ableton, I just route everything that belongs to one song to A, and everything that belongs to the second song, I route to B. Meanwhile, the hardware, synths and drum computers, they got their own channel. I decided to not move on with the Behringer mixer for mostly, like, let's say 3 reasons. It is quite complex. It gives you a lot of options with submixes and different routings, but I almost blew out my ear a couple of times just setting it up, so I got a little bit scared. That's one thing. Then the other thing is, you can see it has 4 equalizer knobs. Meanwhile, when you come from a DJ background, the best is to have 3. Mostly I want to take out the bass and bring it back in, and they have 2 bass knobs, and that's just not working for what I had in mind. And the other thing is the knobs were super small and close by. So I did some research and I got this Mackie, also 8-channel mixer. Unfortunately, the knobs are also super small, but at least I have 3 equalizer per channel and 2 aux channels, meaning 2 send effects that I can use. I plan to use 1 digital, meaning using the plugins I have within Ableton, and 1 to use guitar pedals or external effects. You will see that later in the video as well. So the Mackie gives you less for more money, but it has higher build quality. A couple of things that I maybe miss, not sure. It doesn't have the faders. It has knobs to adjust the levels. I'm not really sure if that will bother me in my setup. I will see, because I'm launching clips, but sometimes might be good to fade stuff in. You cannot do this multi-finger fade in that you can do on normal mixers with faders. So that is something that you don't have in the setup. But it's a little bit smaller, which is good if you go on tour. All in all, I felt way better with the Mackie mixer than with the Behringer mixer. So returning the Behringer, keeping the Mackie. So the switching of the mixer means I have to reconnect everything again. And while you can see me doing that in the background, I thought I'd walk you through what I'm actually doing, because it's a little bit hard to follow otherwise. And afterwards I will of course show you how it looks like in Ableton. This is the mixer. It has 8 channels, and my plan was to connect the kick to 1 channel as a mono input, the snare also as a mono input, the hi-hat as a mono input, even though it's a stereo channel. Same with the percussion. And the reason why I split it up like this, I did not do that in the past with my live performances, but the kick I want to have separate for sure. And the claps and the hi-hats, those are things I feed into a delay effect, an external effect. And if I would have only 1 channel for the whole drums, then the kick and everything else would also go into the delay, and that would mess up everything. So I decided to try it out with this, let's say 4 channels for drums. All the other channels I have in Ableton, I could be running Serum, diva for some synth and bass stuff, vocals. Everything else I route into a miscellaneous channel in Ableton. And then this is a stereo, and that goes into stereo channel number 7. So that leaves me still with 3 available channels. So for example, my synthesizer like the Model 1 or the Micro Freak, I go to channel 1. And the TR-8S, I have it here on channel 8 as a stereo channel, but I think it would also be fine to have it as a mono channel. Maybe at some point I move this to the mono channel, leaving me another stereo channel, and then I split the miscellaneous into miscellaneous bass and miscellaneous, so the rest without the bass. I think that might be a cleaner setup. And I still have 1 more channel. Maybe I can use this with the Micro Freak or some other external device I have. Let's change the color here a bit to not get more confused. Up here you have basically the equivalent of a send and return channel in Ableton. So for example, if you have a guitar pedal, or what I did is I connected this one here to the input as a mono, because this has only a mono input. This one is for the second auxiliary channel. And then connect again the output here, and this one can be a stereo one. So for example, if you use a delay or some reverb effect that makes the track sound wider, you don't want to lose this by having a mono channel as a return. And that's pretty much the setup. These are the auxiliary channels. So if I, for example, on the clap, which is here, if I turn up this knob, it will go into in this case, the flanger or any other external effect I want to have. That way I can make the track come alive and ever changing, even though, let's say, I use the same loops, but you will hear that later. Okay, so much about the setup on the mixer side. Now I also have to do some settings in Ableton itself. So I go to the output config, and I have an audio interface with 12 outputs and I think 8 inputs. So the mixer alone is not enough. You need also an audio interface with enough inputs and outputs to connect it to make it work like I do. And here I just set up the ones that I need. And I give it names, so later when I select them in the channel strips in Ableton, it's easier for me to, find them. So kick, snare, basically the picture that I showed you just a minute ago, I set it up here. And now I need to do the routing in Ableton. So instead of putting the audio to main, which is the standard one, and since this is the miscellaneous channel in that case, I put it to the stereo channel 7/8. And then I'd see if I can find it or if I can hear it in the mixer. That is good. And I do the same with the other channels. So for kick, I also set it to external out, and so on until I mapped Ableton to my mixer the way that I just showed you in the little graphic before. Okay, now I checked that everything is audible on the mixer with the headphones, but I still need to put another loop back to the computer. So I need to connect the main out on the mixer with another 2 cables to an input in my audio interface. In Ableton I have another channel that I use because I did not know how to directly route everything to main. So this is just a channel that takes everything that comes from the master on the mixer and then routes it to the main in Ableton Live. And then you can finally hear it also in Ableton. Okay, and the last thing I needed to do is to use the auxiliary channel to put some delay on it. This is the Behringer BM14, a delay pedal that is basically a copy or supposedly copy of Mugafucker or whatever you pronounce that. Super expensive pedal, 2,000 euros plus on the secondary market. This one costs 100 something. I use it here in the video to show you how to set it up, but I don't like the sound, so let's switch it out with some, I might even call it classic, at least I have it for a long time now, which is the Hall of Fame, a multi-reverb effect pedal. Just switch it out, keep the same cables connected to it. So yeah, and then here you can hear that when I turn up the knobs, then you can hear the reverb effect changing and coming into play. Let's stick some labels on the channel mixer. So when I do a live performance, I instantly know what the channel is representing. Then we're ready for some little jam. Okay, now you heard what this setup can do. I'm not happy with the transitions or with the performance or anything, so please don't judge it. It's more like a proof of concept at this moment, so I did not rehearse anything. But yeah, I hope this video was helpful to you, found it a little bit inspiring, or solved one of your own problems that you have with setting up a hybrid setup like this. I think it offers a lot of more flexibility, especially through the hands-on things that the mixer allows you to do. I think I'm like 90% there of what I want to have, and it's time to work on some tracks with it or some live set with it, and then just get used to how it works. So yeah, thank you for watching it. And if you have any questions or want to share your experience with hybrid setups, let me know in the comments, and happy to connect. And if you like this type of content or music, make sure to check out my other videos. Thanks for the support and have a nice day.